Good evening, class. Today is Tuesday, 5/26/2020, and we're going to start with CS Computer Science 18, Unix scripting with Bash. And today we're going to discuss a number of things, and some of the topic that we discuss is continuation of networking, as well as scripting, as well as additional topics that was posted last time, and add on to it with more commands and coverage. So for tonight, let me just open up the modules. For the module for week of 15, as you can see, we're almost there to next week is June, and then we are going to have sometime the finals due. So I'm going to discuss also tonight what the assignment for the final project is going to be. Today, let's just go over the lecture, what we can cover. I don't see any participant, otherwise I would ask if you have any question, but unfortunately I don't see anybody coming in online. So I could ask you if you have any questions, so we could have some interactivity going on. But anyway, since you will be listening to the video and lectures, I want to make sure that the topics that I'm covering is all documented on the Canvas. So you can go to a lecture for Tuesday, 5/26, and you follow up from there. In addition, there will be some more documentation that will be posted as we go for the final exam. So this information, look up for it, and it will be on the assignments sometime tonight, which will be due on the final day of the exams. But if you can post it or submit it before the final due date, that would be great. But please make sure that don't just wait till the last day and then at the end they just ask for an extension, because it would be hard for us to just grade them when the grades are due right away. So we may not have any time like we had at the midterms and the homeworks and assignments. That kind of a gap that I was just extending it, it's not the same on the final day. So whatever is on the final day, please make sure you submit it on that final day or before that, not after. If you submit anything after, I'll post it on the documents, on the exam itself. Make sure that you're doing it on time. Otherwise, you will be given less credit if you submit it late. Every day that you submitted late, obviously you lose some percentage, but again, the final exam has to be done on the day that it is due, not after, because I cannot wait for you to just submit it later and I cannot grade it. I cannot just say too much about that, but I said enough, I think. You just have to do it on time. So the discussion last time we did with networking, we talked about DNS, DHCP. We talked about Solaris networking with SVC as a command for the services to check it, and then all the networking services that we could stop and start, and the fconfig command. Fconfig was supported on both Linux, Solaris, and other Linux distribution. Fconfig is a universal command. On Linux, they also replaced the fconfig with IP command. IP command is for Internet Protocol that does the same thing with fconfig, but a little bit more enhancement commands. So it's not completely deprecated, fconfig. It is used on multiple platforms already, including the Linux, but if you feel like you want to just not use the fconfig, the IP command could also do that. And then for Linux, let me update this one. The doc says CentOS, and that's CentOS. So there's a typo there. I'm going to correct it right now before I forget. And DHCP, and I'll correct it on the previous days afterward. This is CentOS, Linux CentOS, and that would do it. So I need to save it. Good morning, good afternoon, Math. Thank you for coming online. I know you're are on a maybe I think you are on mute. You don't have audio, I believe you told me last time. So you don't have to talk. If you want to put something on chat, I'll read the chat as well. Let me check to see if anybody said something on the chat. Chat here. And okay, I'll just leave this one here. And then so we go with the explanation of these commands: netstat, iostat, vmstat. Netstat is for network, IO for input-output statistics, VM is for virtual memory statistic, LSOF is list of open file system, PS is for process commands, kill and kill all, or when you want to terminate process, normally with -9 option, it kills a process with by forcing it, and then -hop is process signal number 1, which is gracefully and does it, and 15 is to terminate it. Mount and mount all, and umount or commands to mount either some kind of like storage or some sort of disk and volumes, whether it is NFS, UFS, or ZFS, or extended file or file system, any of those ones. You just use those commands to do it. SSH is copy and rcopy, tar, gunzip, and gunzip. These are the ones that I'm going to cover tonight also. And in terms of what secure shell, SSH secure shell does, and secure copy, rcopy, remote copy, tar, tape archive, gun unzip, which is for unzipping the compressed file that was compressed before. There's also a compress command, compress -d would uncompress it, and compress by itself would compress it. There's also zip and zip2 commands, similar to gunzip and gzip. Depending on which system you work on, they all work the same kind of concept, or the same way that one of them is putting it in a zip format, the other one is unzipping it. The tape archive has some flags that you could put into a group of files into one big tape archive, one tarball, and then that tarball you can compress it as well using -z option. And I'll go through that one with examples tonight. And then the rcopy is from the TCP/IP packages, and that was a long time ago on Windows 95, and Windows NT 3.51 was introduced. Unix always had the TCP/IP package, or the TCP/IP protocol, which is stand for Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. That was always available, and then as a result, they had some commands like FTP, Telnet, rcopy, or RSH, remote shell, and so on. A lot of those commands that were available are still available, but some of them are deprecated because they do not provide a secure version of it. It's in clear text. For example, Telnet was completely clear text, and then that was replaced to SSH. And then our copy or SSH were replaced to by scopy and FTP. As SFTP is the version of FTP that was secured. So instead of a file transfer protocol, FTP, that was with the DARPA and ARPA packages at the time of the project DARPA was working, and DARPA stands for Department of Advanced Research Agency. That at that time that was started the military base with TCP/IP package because they wanted to send files between two nodes or two host machine, and then they were using FTP, file transfer protocol. And then they had the option of TFTP for trivial file transfer protocol, but they never had it at the time with SFTP, like secure FTP. Nowadays they do it. And then there's also other packages that are called LFTP, large file transfer protocol, that you could use. But scopy and SSH is really used extensively throughout the companies, and you could use those ones for sending and receiving files and directories in bigger and smaller and secure ways. So we will discuss some of that also. Example with bash shell scripting, we will continue discussing those. The etc host file we discussed, fstab file, inet, netmask, sysconfig, this is just like a summary of the files and other ones that we look into it. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask me now, or and just later maybe send me an email, say, I want you to cover more of this at a later session, let's say for Ubuntu or Solaris or OpenSUSE or OpenSolaris or Linux, whichever one you feel like I could cover that one, depending on how much it interests you. If you're working on a company that you want to learn it for your company, I will be more than happy to help you out with the environment. So example with the shell scripting using bash, we did discuss a number of them. And then the next time we discuss on Tuesday, we discussed some of the files like resolve.conf file, which is on every system when you have a network, the resolve.conf file has the name server information. And then the nswitch.conf file, it tells the other files in what order when you're looking for name server lookup, whether if it has, like, for example, host files, and then comma, next field is host, it is going to just say, okay, I'm looking for an entry of files in the local file system first, and if I don't find the entry, I'll look into the server side on DNS or LDAP or something else. Let me show you an example of that too file, because it may just remind you what I'm talking about. So if I just go here and then do a cat etc resolve.conf file, you can see, because I'm using my internet service provider, this is my name server, and then it is the DNS is searching home. So if I go and netstat -rn, this is the gateway which is up and running for it, and then the default gateway here is 192.168.122, and if I just do say host name, here is a local domain, and at the same time, if I'm just looking at my network, let's say show me the default gateway of my network as 192.168.254.1. So that is the default gateway for, it's actually 254.0 maybe it is, and or .1, or actually .254 for this one. So sometimes certain companies, they choose different numbers for the gateway, so that is reachable. If that one is not reachable, I will not be on the network. And then when I do ping on, let's say, .24, which is my Macintosh, Mac OS X Darwin BSD version, that's the one that is showing here. So how is this translate to the, when I do a NS lookup, for example, for this IP address, and say, show me that 192.168.254.24, that is going to just say host14.home. At my home, it's already there. So if I SSH to that one, it's going to basically connect me to my Mac OS X. And how do I do that one? Since I'm talking about SSH and its copy and other things, I'll show you a couple of examples here. But there was another file aside from a resolve.com file that I already showed you. There was another file called nsswitch.com file. This file has the information about how the system should find, for example, if I'm just looking for a particular user, and then I could say, for example, grep-i password on the etc nsswitch.com file is going to say files first, and then later on says SSS. So if it finds it on the etc password file and etc shadow file or etc group file, when I look for a particular user like wlutfi, get grep-i wlutfi is on the password file, as well on the shadow file, as well as on the group file. But because I'm not root, when I do this command, and the shadow file might not be readable, because the permission of that file is by default is R for root readable, everybody else is blocked. So here it just says permission denied. But if I just do that one with sudo, then I can just read the content of that also, which basically has a number of fields: the username, the permission, the password, the home directory, and so on. All the information that what is the default group and what is the bash and everything there, as well as when the password expires and when how long it's going to be good for. The file nsswitch.com file I was looking for here for password. So if I just say nslookup google.com, then it's going to say, and this is the google.com information. And if I just say nslookup our unix.com, which is my local host, then it's going to actually go to my service provider, and it finds that one. Notice that server name is that IP address that earlier I was telling you, and .254.254. And that one is actually resolving as name server this information here. So for Google, when I do, it is still heading my DNS server first before it goes to find out the DNS server, because right here on this file, resolve.com file, it just says that this is the name server to look for it. And then that name server is going to find the information by just going to my internet service provider, and it is going to check it. But how does that know? Is that because there's a variable called host, it's called a directive, and then nsswitch.com file, it has that information saying that look at the files first, which means on the etc resolve.com file is going to find the gateway information, then it's going to do a trace route on this one, is going to find this one somewhere on the internet, and then it's going to come up with an IP address for it. Same thing with Google. And if it doesn't see it on the local host entry, then it's going to look at the DNS, domain name services. and then eventually it's going to come back on my host name, and if my host name is defined in the etc host name, then it's going to look at that file. But if it is not, then it has to know what is my host name. So if I just say, and let's look up my host name, that is basically coming from my hostname.name. It's still coming on my own home subnet. And then the way you know also if config -a, as I was telling you before, for the interface that I'm coming with a local IP address at this net mask, at this broadcast, and then here is my MAC address. All that information is telling me how I could come in with this interface to connect to the internet, and then later on I have network. And last time I was showing you on the network here, on the network setting, we're bridging out from the Windows machine by going on the NAT network address translation. It is bridging out. So this is good to know, because when you're configuring your network system on the machine, you have to know certain command like systemctl status network. It will just show that the network is up and running, and a lot of the details are in here. This is the startup script that we used to call it the legacy system exec start, or c.d. And then if you look at this file itself, more etc run control.d, that's RC stands for run control.d, and then initialization.d directory, and then network is the name of the script. So if I look at that script, you can see that you can do a systemctl up and down, and instead of status, you can bring it up and down network. These are the functions that sets up the network, and then the etc sysconfig and etc network dash scripts, or the actual directory, as you can see here, etc sysconfig and network script. Inside there, for each interface that you have on the system, you have a file, and you have the gateway, the IP address, the host, whether the system is using TCP protocol, static connection, or dynamic DCP. All those parameters are defined in there, and as well as whether the interface should be up at boot time. By default, they're supposed to be up if you want to be on the network. So you set up those variables in there. And then there's addition. Sometimes these start for version 6 or version 4 of IP, you have those options as well. And then here you can see that the option that you have, you can check the status for network, which we did, whether it's up and running. And then instead of IP command and fconfig command, it is using the IP command to check the status. Say IP -o link show up, and then this command basically is showing you in the output of the command. So if we just cut and paste this command here, paste, you can see loopback interface and EPN 0S3 interface and Vibro. Those are the ones that are up and running. I could also do fconfig loopback interface to just only see the loopback interface. The loopback interface is basically looping back to the local host there. This is the IP version 4 loopback interface IP address, and this is the IP version 6. And this is the net mask for it. And then again, if there's any other information, like for example, for this interface, you could look at it, say fconfig ENP 0S3. It gives you the same thing. And then for this interface, it gives you the actual inet, which is the IP address for it, and then the net mask, as well as the MAC address for that interface. So what else we could discuss here? And the IP-A command, for example, IP just A by itself without that -A, let's say IP-A will give you all of the interfaces that are up and running. You can see the listing of each one of them. So if you need like commands like man IP would give you details of, and there's option of show and then manipulate routing and everything. We also discussed, in addition to these command netstat, we discussed traceroute and a lot of other arguments. So and the options for each of these command you can see is extensively high. There's a lot of options there. It grows with a lot of parameter depending on what you're doing. And then there's command also with route add and route delete. So when you do netstat here, sorry, netstat -rn, you see this one. If you're adding a route for another gateway or something, you could even add kind of like manual static routing on the configuration. But you have to know what you're doing on the network. I have done a lot of that one for different servers differently. And I have configured on Linux, SGI, IREX, Red Hat, all kind of OSs in the past maybe 20 some years. I have been doing Unix system administration and programming and development. So a lot of those things on each platform, it may require a different argument, different syntax. For example, the commands that you use on SGI IREX is a lot different than Solaris, and Solaris is a lot different than BSD of Mac, and Mac is a lot different than Linux. But what you learn on Linux and Solaris and Unix, it's always as one command with arguments. You just pass on those arguments, but if you know how to bring an interface down or up or configure it with certain files at boot time and other ones, the concept of what exactly the syntax you put is very little different. Imagine when you're learning C++, when it, I'm sorry, C programming language, which is the mother of all programming language, then you go to the next class, which is a Java class or Python or C++ or any other programming language. Now you know that a for statement, how it should work. You only memorizing the syntax for that language. And how you do a loop with a while statement, all you do is similar. So the function calls, the method or classes, definition, if you know how to write the object-oriented programming in Python or C++ or C# or Java, most likely you will do on the other one as well, similar. As long as you know it on one language, you will be fine. That's the beauty of programming. So we discussed that, and then let me go back to the topic here. And we run top, and then htop. This is the Sham top that is a little bit graphic there. I never installed it. I think I'm going to try to install it on Ubuntu or something to get this one working, and then I'll show you an example of it. The PS command and perf, this is performance command. This is for the command that we did with the detracing. Sometimes you could just run a command with performance and record it, whatever command you do, and then sometimes you just get the output of it with a report. So let me just show you an example of perf. So if I do man perf, it will tell you that performance analysis tool for Linux. And basically it requires some options that are there. This is extensively coding and doing whatever you want to do. But as you can see, the performance, it has a number of commands option. One of them is perf-stat that will call this perf-stat command and will do a statistic of a stat command or something. Perf top will just do performance top of the perf record will record it into a file called performance data file, and then inside that file actually you could do a report on it with perf-report, and you see that one perf list that's also listing it. So if I just say, for example, df-h and then df-h, so I could write a script, for example. Let's say I'm going to write a quick script to do df-h and then do something with it, and then just list them, and then let's just start with a script here. It doesn't matter what location. I'm going to do it at this directory here. I'm going to just say vi and df-h.sh. I'm just going to call the same name of the script. So I'm going to go here and say #shebang, which is user ben env, then my interpreter bash. Notice I'm not doing /ben bash because that's almost like hard-coded that I know my bash is on the /ben directory or user ben directory involved, even though I could look at this system, say which bash, and right away it tells that user ben and bash, and I could come in and say here, as of like user ben, and then just do bash, this bash. This is good, but it is it's gonna work. So if I just run like for example a command, say df-h by default, and just don't give it anything else, and then say bash df-h.sh. So I just execute it. Normally I could just say bash, and then since that command is also on df-h, and then the option of df-h is not the permissions is not executable at all. But when you put the bash in front of it, it is going to source it. So it is going to say, go ahead, run it. So if I say source df-h.sh is going to do the same thing as if I did the bash. And if I do df-h.sh, is going to do the same thing. So each one of these ones, depending on how you do it, it means different things. So the subshell that this one opens, if there's any environment variable on this script is declared, that environment variable, if you're using the command export in front of it, then that will be exported to the outer shell. But if you're just doing a command like let's say x is equal 5, then it will just be only available to the shell at the time of the function or the script is having the scope. Once it lost the scope of it, it will be gone. But if you do it like, for example, export x is equal 5, then it will be available as soon as I get out of that df-h. I could give you examples of those one as well. But every time you do, if you just don't want to keep the scope of a variable and keep it local to that function or to that script, you can use the word local. So you could say local x is equal 5, and instead of just x is equal 5. So that way the scope is lost as soon as you terminate your script or the function is losing the scope of it. So for df-h, I just wrote that one, and then if I just modify it, say df-h.sh, instead of this, I'm going to say user ben env bash. Someone might say, well, you're hard coding user ben env. But by default, if you just say which env, bang, and then which, since I'm inside vi or vim, I have to do bang which env. By default, that is on user ben env, and then that interpreter bash is defined in $shell, or $sign is pointing to it. And if you just change that bash to Python, Perl, Ruby, or any other programming language that is installed here, and you want to just change that one, that env is going to automatically find C shell, Cron shell, anything you do, you just change that bash to that, and it will work for it. So here I'm going to do this df command, and let's just call it my command df is equal, and then I'm going to put $, and then this, and then say while true do, and then I'm going to just indent it a couple of lines, and then say echo minus e, and then give a variable name, say let's say I'm going to say the first time we run the script, not the first time actually, the $count times we executed the df command, and then I'm going to say the $, and df command. But because I'm going to just do a df -h command, I don't want to execute that one, so I'm going to put that one within this as a single quote, so it doesn't interpolate it. I'm going to say that run this one, the count time, and the 0 times or the 1 time. So here I'm going to say start count with equal 1 the first time, and then we executed the df command, and then put a new line character, and then close it. And right here we say we could say count plus 1 or count plus plus. Count plus plus. So this one will just increment it, and I believe we need to put a $sign here. Count plus plus. So that will just increment it, and then run the command $sign df, and then sleep 1 second, and then run the date command after every time it sleeps, and then say done. And since we're changing it, it is true, but do that count, and instead of saying while true, we could put an expression to match at some point that is gonna break, or we could just say if count is equal 5, then break. So here we could just do after this, we say if $sign count equal 5, or let's do it at 6, and then break, and then fi. So if we just do this, we're gonna do this whenever it is equal, count is equal 6, then it's gonna exit there. We could do that one, or and let me just show you another way you could do it. So rather than doing a, well, let's just run this one first. I'll show you the other way afterward. So we do save it. Now we look at the content of that file, cut -n and df-h.sh. So it might have some typo or somewhere, but I'll catch it and we correct it. And there. Did anybody have any question? I see 5 people, that's good. See more people logged on. Thanks for joining in. So at this time, if we look at that, the script, basically it puts the df-h command into a variable df, and then set a variable called count is equal 1. These commands are just losing the scope of it within that variable. It is not exported outside, and it is not globally defined. So once this bash subshell that we are creating here, it terminates, this variable does not have any value. But if I just run it with dot space dot and then export it, then and we may just get the value of count afterward. It depends on how we run the script. So while through do, now we're going to see this count. At this time, count is going to be incremented for every run, and then it is going to show the df command, and then execute the df command, and then sleep 1 second, run the date command to show the date, and then when it is equal 6, then it breaks. So it should do up to 5. Let's just run it, bash df-h.sh. So something went wrong, 3, 4 bash, and it exits, but there's command not found on line 9. Let's see what is on command line 9. vi df-h.sh. You go on line 9, and then here it says count, and then looks like that is the problem when we increment it. Let's see if that was the problem or not. So we run it again with this. File system command not found, line 10. So what is on line 10 this time? df minus line 10, file system command not found. Line 10. Okay, so at this time it is trying to execute that command, df-h. And then it does not understand that argument as it is passed, df-h, $df-h. Okay, so we passed it on to this. Yeah, this is the output of it. This is not the actual command. This is the output of it. So I'm going to change this one and then to this. We say execute with the backtick df-h, df-h. Now we're going to just say execute that one, running that command, and it will fix it. Let me just do that. Clear the screen, bash df-h.sh, and again it says command not found, line 11. Let's see if we have anything on line 11. df-h.sh, line 11. Okay, so it is the same because I just added one line here. What I'm going to do is, instead of using this variable, I could just say echo this one, because the output is actually there, not the that's not a command. So we run the command already here, and then we just say that send me the output of it here. And then here, when we say this, we are going to say the output of df-h is command there. Clear the screen, df-h.sh. Permission denied, yes, because I'm not running it with this option. And when you do that option, you can see it is doing the echo, but it is losing some of the information similar to what it is because I'm executing the command, put it into a variable, then I'm printing that variable in a different format with echo. So what we need to do is let's modify it one more time. And this time I'm going to say, while you do this one, let's try this. We could say printf, and for each of the string that we print, actually, since it's inside there, I will just paste it here. I don't need to define a variable here. The command, we could just say, it's much easier rather than do a interpretation afterward. You just use the command here, df-h. You could also do a printf and with the new line characters and terminate those line characters. But because I'm inside the while statement and I want to execute this command every time we get inside the sleep with 1 second, then I want to be able to do that right here. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Notice if I run it like this, df-h .sh, it's not going to run because the permission of that file is still not executable. If I want to run it like that, I have to do a change mode and then 755, for example, df-h .sh and then df-h.sh. Now it's readable and executable and then writable by the owner and by everybody else readable and executable. And then for the group and others. So I could just say now df-h.sh, it will run it. And notice that it just runs it 5 or 6 times, 5 times it's going to run it. And then the 5th times it just was executed there. We could do another thing is like just to see a clear command output every time it does, rather than just one after the other one in sequence. We could clear the screen as it does every command and display the number of times the command ran, and that is more easier to read. So df, let me do a vi in it, this one, and then I just say right here, say clear the first time I run that. Clear the screen now, df-h.sh. It says the first time, then the second time. Notice that it updates it and then eventually it's gonna get out. And then this one is showing you the 5 times it ran the df-h command. And then if you just wanna parse something with some sort of grep or egrep or set or something, and you wanna replace something to that one, those are your options. You could manipulate data as you display them. And then if you want to just pick up certain things, like for example, if I'm only interested on the /home and root or root CentOS and home CentOS, so I could pick up home and root those variables, or just like I could say df-h and then egrep for extended global regular expression print. I could say look for root and look for home. If I have more than those two, then I could just say, well, I have to be more specific to dash CentOS dash root or CentOS dash home. I could do that. For example, if I'm looking for tempfs, tempfs is almost in all of them, tempfs. So this is going to give me everything. Now, if I just go on my script and I say, I want to only get the tempfs when it has the run command, the syntax, then I could just also say grep and then -i and then the word run. I could just say the run, but then there's more run. So I want to just see the word run, and I don't want /user in it there. So this is still getting it because this word run is there. Now I'm going to make it more unique by matching this, and it still finds out that, and I say after this one it's some no characters. So no characters, meaning that I have to do something here, meaning that 0 or more. 0 or more is this. Plus is 1 or more. So this is 1 or more is each one of them is not repeated twice, so that is not going to find. And if I just go with a slash and then end of line, that would make it unique to run. That would just pick up this. And then if I just pick up, for example, something with user, but I want to pick up 42, then I could also say, go ahead, do this one /user, and then after that one I could put the word 42. Obviously it's I need to just do, this is not a word anymore, and then I could say run and then backspace this, sorry, backspace this, and then backspace this, and then backspace this, and easy way to do is this one is only 42 is unique. You could just pick up that way and there. Another way you could do is say, okay, start with a slash and then something after it, and then 42 after it. So you could do a number of ways to pick up certain regular expression. So let's go back to the example what we were talking about with df-h, vi df-h $h. And then here, if we do this command that many times, we could also change this syntax from here. Let me just make a second example because I could post this one for you on the output. df-h $h. This one I'm going to do copy df-h $h. I'm going to call it df-h2 $h, second one, or -2 $h. So vi df-h $2 $h. This time, instead of while true, I'm going to just change this one to say while $sign count is less than 6, do. So in this case, I don't need the if statement because we just are going to terminate the script after 6 iteration. While $sign is less than 6, continue doing it, increment it, and then when it is equals 6, then it's going to exit. So let's run this one, clear the screen, cut df-h-2 $h, and I'm going to say df-h-2 $h. So it's going to clear the screen, say 1 through 5 times, and then it should exit out. Yeah, it did actually. And then now if I say echo $sign count, it's not defined. Okay, so now if I just run the same script with this dot, and then I'm sourcing it basically, and then I say echo $sign count, it is the last value that was changed. So notice the difference between sourcing it like this or running it with this. Let me just run it without this. You will not have the value of count because count is just lost after the scope of that bash subshell terminates. So in this time, you can see count is actually 6 because last time I already exported. Exported, so it is there. So let me just do unset count, and then I say $count and run this command again, see if it still does it on this way. So at 6 is exiting out. Now I say echo count, you notice that that one is not exported. So every time you go on your subshell, if you just export some variable on this shell, it will be on that shell available. The next time you are going to another shell, like here I could say bash, and then just show you a number of ways you can look at variables. So here PS, now my second subshell is open, and this is the shell. So I'm going to say echo $. Notice that it's 8964, and then I'm going to say x is equal, this is second shell. I could just say that, and then if when I say echo $x, it says second shell. Now I say bash one more time, and then I'm having third shell. So now I'm going to say echo $, and then I say that's the number for my third one. So I'm going to say, and this is 9079 is third one. So I'm going to say x is equal third shell. So now I say echo $x. It is not the second shell because I'm inside my third shell. I have the variable for that one. Now I'm going to try one more time, and I'm going to just say, this time I'm going to go to C shell. So notice my C shell is my fourth one, and then I have that shell, and I just say setEnv x is equal, x is, this is the syntax for C shell or through C shell, and setEnv variable by value, and I say inside C shell, C shell, like that. And then I could say C shell also like that. So now I'm inside there, and then if I say $x, you could see that's the variable. And then I go PS, and notice that I'm there. Let me just go back to, if a corn shell is defined, I could say corn shell, and then yes, corn shell is there. So PS there, my corn shell, and then if I just say export x is equal, and then I say inside corn shell, and then run this one, then echo $x, okay, inside corn shell. And then one more time, I'm going to just show you the bash this time. I'm going to go one more time into bash, and then say export x is equal last bash shell. Okay, so now I say $x, it will just say this, PS is there, echo $, will be my bash shell process ID is this one. Now notice that if I just do, since I'm inside my last $, I'm going to get the value of last bash shell. I exit out of this one, and then I say echo $, there, I'm going to get 9262. 9262 was the corn shell. So I should get, when I do the echo $x, I should get to say inside corn shell. That's what it does. And then if I just exit out of this, and then now on this one, I'm looking at PS. Notice I'm on a C shell. Echo $, is pointing to 9192. and then echo $X is saying that inside C shell. And then the same thing if I just exit out of here, PS, and then echo $, there, and echo $X, it's third shell, and exit out, echo $X, second shell, and then echo $, is my second shell, and finally I get out of this, and then I only have one shell, and echo $X is was not defined there, and if I just set the variable to whatever I want to set, and then it will be set at that time there. So same thing goes with other variables that are undeclared. What shell you're using it and how you want to jump in between them is very important. That the scope of it is at the time the shell or subshell that was invoked at that time is available, and then the scope of that variable might be living until that subshell is alive. And that you could check on that one. So let's see what else we could cover here. Okay, so we did the perf, and that was an example why I came out to this script. So here you can see this script that I wrote here called df-h2.sh. So I'm going to do a perf, a record, and then df-h-2.sh. This is his performance record, the output of this one into a file here. And then when I'm running this command, workload failed, no such file or directory. So the reason it says that one, it does not cease from that path. So I have to give an absolute path of where my script resides, which is this current directory from this one. So it's going to do, it's running this script, and it's at the same time recording the performance of it. So now it did it. It tells you actually that performance record woken up one times to write the data. The captured wrote the data into perf.data. You forgot what was the name of it. You could do a list minus LTR, and it will be the last file that just got touched with this much in size. So perf.data, you can see it's right there. And then so the old one that I had run previously, that will be by my script will modify as .old, so you can look at it and then see the output. So now if I just say file perf.data, this one is a data file. It's not a text or a binary that I could read it. It's a data file which only perf could read it. And the way you read it is you use perf report and then perf.data. This will just actually open it in a report file, and then it's going to just display it with the output there. And then you can say run the script for all samples. You could get a lot of the other variables there to get it. And then some of the information, if I look at the perf.data, it is perf.data is a data type. There's a UNIX command, strings. Strings, you could see the contents of this one in some kind of a string variables. It's not going to be the same as the way perf data reads, but it is not text, it's not the binaries either. So it is some of the information. You can see it uses a bash, it uses the df command. So we could look at this one and say what libraries were open with the shared object for the bash, and then the command that is used, clear command and df command. All that things is inside there, the sleep command, the date command. Most likely all of them are there, you see, there. So, and then the shared objects that are there. If you look at the shared object, last time we discussed the LDD command. For example, let's say lib int. If I look at this shared object, I could just do this command, a string, and then say grep minus I .so, and then those are the .so files, but I don't want to see the grep minus vdso. I don't want to see those. I want to see only those, and then I could make it unique, sort it first, and then make it unique, so it's not having any duplicate. Now I have only this smaller subset of all the libraries are there. Well, I could do say while read, the while statement with read, I could put this one into some variable called LDD path, or maybe shared object, then do. At this time, I could say LDD on the shared object, $, shared object, and then by doing that one, you actually will get a list of shared object for each of those ones, how they're linked to the system, statically linked or dynamically linked. And I mentioned that one is, for example, on the main process we were running is bash. So if I look at the df command and say which df, and that's the df, so file user ben df, that's also executable link format. So I say, show me the LDD on the user ben df command. Notice that it is showing these, but at the time that it runs, this one has a process ID of it. So if I just get the process ID of the df command at that time, then I can get the dynamic shared object that are passed on. As an example, let me show you bash. For example, bash is currently running. So when I look at this PS, bash is currently running. So if I say which bash, you could see that is there. So file / user ben bash, it gives me, it's an executable link format, which means I can get the list of all the objects that are there with which bash. This would give me the name of the shared object. By doing LDD on the which bash, it gave me a list of them. At this time, I know that is there. Then what about PS $$$$$? $$ is 3691. So I could do something like this as process LDD and then $$$$. And that would give me the rest of the shared objects that while it is doing these ones statically, these are dynamically getting linked at the time at runtime. This is the process proc file system, process LDD with that process ID. I could do that one, or I could just look at the Lsof of that proc $$ to see what are the list of it there. Lsof, if I just do this, let's see what is the echo $$ is there. So Lsof require a -p command, -p for process, and then you will get a list of all the processes there. And then again, we discussed the Lsof and other ones with proc file system. Sometimes you're interested in certain things. For example, my bash, PS, my bash is 3691. I could say ls-l proc $$ or 3691. It will be equivalent. And then last time I showed you for example, the static command there. And if you cut that one, I believe this one was giving you all the information about CPU usage, memory, and all that process. And the name of this one is bash, as you can see here, the UMask and the other ones. So there's status and it's file descriptors, the stat and other stuff. Similar to this one, let's see if we do stat. Yeah, stat is this is giving you this, but just do which bash, and then I say stat user bin bash. This one, all the information that are here, it will be more human readable when you do a statistic on that one information. For example, it says the name is bash and here's the name. And then the process ID is 3691, and somewhere here it might say the process ID of 3691. 3691 block for file descriptor. It has to say somewhere. And then the user ID, group ID, and everything. So if I look for the process ID of grep minus I 30, not minus I, 3691, and then grep minus v grep, that will just give me my bash process ID here. And then the parent process ID of that one is 3681. So PS command is really useful. It gives you a lot of process commands. We also talk about mpstat for commands, and then prstat, mpstat, and then prstat is actually a Solaris command, and then iostat I'll give you information on IO, and sometimes you could see run it every 5 seconds, 5 of them or something. You could just give data, and then sometimes you want your session to be connected. You could put that number as many times as you want to run the instance. So it did run it there. If I just gave one time, every 1 second, 5 times, that is going to run the command 5 times. And if I want to run it 3 times, every 1 second, that is going to be running 3 times. The same thing with iostat is vmstat, VM, virtual memory statistic. So if you want to get the information there, uptime also gave you information about system uptime. And then who minus r, there shows you the run level. Run level itself is giving you command on what run level you're currently. And then who command, that shows who's logged on the system. Who am I, it tells you who are you. Who am I, also it tells you the machine that you're coming from, what is your display setting and everything, the remote machine that you connect. So let me go to SSH minus L one, and I'm going to log in as Wahid Lutfi into 192.168.254.24. I'm going to try to connect to my BSD Mac OS X machine. So let's just log in there. Obviously, I have to have the proper authentication mechanism. In this case, I just went from my CentOS machine using secure shell. This secure shell minus L means login as Wahid Lutfi at this IP address and then this subnet. So here, if I just want to go on a particular directory, I say, well, I could just say, what is that machine? UNA-A is a Darwin BSD version. If I just clear my screen with clear command, UNA-A, you could see it's Darwin. And then if I just say df-h, you could see the file system, who is there, ID, who am I, all those information. Notice that the who am I now, it shows where I came from, this one. I came in from another IP address on the same subnet, and my IP address on that local host machine was .47. And then when I just do, let's say last, I could see the system who last log in and who is still logged on. So I could say last and then head -5, just show me the last top 5 of them. And it will just show the people that, like if I reboot the machine, it will just say that this is the my login and that I rebooted, so on. A lot of the information is written on wtemp file system, var and wtemp and var, and then so inside the var, maybe it's var log start temp. Inside here, find out -name wtemp. Yeah, I have to change permissions and look for it in one of those directories. Man wtemp is for the last, and then you can see the logs is var run wtemp var log wtemp. So if you look at var log and then inside var log wtemp is that file. Actually, it is not there, but wtemp.0 maybe. Everything else is, yeah, is already in a gunzip format because the size grow, and then I have a log rotation that does the cleanup on it. So from here, from this machine, if I just say arp -a, I will see the IP address of other machine that I'm running and configured to. Like you can see my Solaris machine is running on the .25 subnet, and that's and this interface Ethernet 0. So if I do fconfig like we did here with pipe more, you can see that EN0 is all the subnet that I'm connecting. 24 is my main, which is this machine, and then 25 is the Solaris machine. And so I could also look at the etc host machine, and then host machine is saying that if I want to go to my Solaris machine, I could just do SSH my Solaris, or I put this IP address. So if inside here, I could do SSH -l and then say wlutfi, if that's my login name, I could connect to my my Solaris, or space wlutfi my Solaris or unix.com. This is one way that it's going to prompt me for authentication to that machine. Let's see if it prompts me there. So I log in. This is to use SSH. So now I'm there. I'm on a Solaris machine, Solaris 5.11, and then cat etc release file. It just shows you the Solaris 11.5 built 151A. And then if I just exit out of this one, now I'm back on the Linux machine. I could also, instead of doing this SSH, like -l, I could just say, instead of -l, I could say wlutfi at that instance. That would do the same thing. And then once I log in, I could see my user ID and everything. So let's assume that I'm running Apache for this one, HTTPD, and then Apache 2.2. And if I just go on the Apache build of this one and look at the thing, for purposely, I actually downgrade this one to an older version. So I could just show you the tar.gunzip file and everything from my archive, how I could restore and back up things there. So one way you could do is, for example, if you go to where this Apache directory is installed, this is the binary, but there's a var Apache 2 and 2.2 directory there. that actually the configurations and then the htdocs and everything else is there. Apache is really cool when you know it. It's a web server. It allows you to just run a web server and authenticate to it. And I don't know if my network will allow me to show you our unix.com. So if I just go to the website for this one, let's see if it takes me. I'm redirecting from our unix.com port 80 by default to port 8080. And then that should just take it. I'll help it by defining the HTTP protocol, and then just type in colon. So let's see if it default to that. And the way I know for sure that it's going to eventually either time out because of the network connection or connect me. But when you go from outside from a different network, it will just connect right away. This one, because I'm on the virtualization environment, it is the DHCP is working differently. So I could show you this information here. Let's say I have done this, and then I say, well, I tore up this one already, and then I want to just say, okay, what is this backup.sh? I wrote this backup.sh to just remove the current tar file, create a new tar files. This tab archive, CVF, C for create, V for verbose, F for file, and this is the name that I want to tar it, and then for this directory. It will run for a while and then change the permission of it to 755 for all the other directories afterward to make sure that they're there. But I don't need to run this one, okay? So I could even delete this one and write a better version. Just I don't need this one. And then, so I'm gonna become root here. And then when I do the dash, I'm going to lose the profile where the directory is, because it's gonna drop me to the root. So I should have not put the dash, but that's okay. I'm gonna go to var Apache 2. And then here now I'm going to tar 2.2. I'm going to rm this backup.sh. I don't like that script at all. I don't have, I just, maybe at that second I wrote it, and then I just needed a quick thing to do it. But the right way to do it is to define your shell and everything else, and then declare some variables and things like that. So at this time, let's say I'm creating another tar file. The command that you could do is say tar. So if I just have enough space on the var partition, which is 15%, so that means I can just generate a new one. I'm going to just say move 2.2.tar to 2.2.tar.2011-09-02. Just I want to just keep that one as an archive. Now I'm going to create a new tarball as of today. Even though this one is, you can see the date is old. So inside this 2.2, I might have newer directories, which I don't. Actually, everything is there. htdocs and other ones have not been modified. Let me see what is the htdocs directory in terms of, they're all 2011. So that means I could just create a new tarball just for the sake of example that I would show you. Then I can restore it on the same directory or another one. I could say tar cvf, and C means create, V for verbose, F for file, and then I'm going to put another Z to compress it as well. So I could do the both commands of tarring and gun zipping it in one command. And I'm going to say 2.2, say 2.2.tar.gunzip. That's what I want to name it. 2.2 is the source what I want to tar up. And I'm going to put an ampersand here because I want to just get my display back so I could go run more commands. If I don't put the background, it's going to just do it. And then if I just want to make sure that even if my session terminates, which I am going to exit out of this one, I don't want to lose it, I'm going to do a no hop here. No hop means no hang up. When I'm doing this one, even if I just exit out of this terminal session, if the thing takes 5 hours or 2 hours to do that one, and then it's going to just still not close on me. That way I will still have an output at the end of this session. So no up command means don't hang up, but write the output of these commands to a file called nohop.out. And because I'm putting this ampersand at the end of it, once this directory is done, once this command is done, it will just say job done. Before that one, I could just look at the list of the job that I submitted. So now you see that it says this is the job ID number 1 with this process ID number for it, and then it is writing the output to nohub.out. If I do ls-l now, I have a file called nohub.out. In addition, it is writing to this file. This file is going to grow. The next time I do ls-l, you can see the sizes keep growing. And if I type in jobs, because I run one process in the background with that job, it tells me there's the nohop command, and this is my actual full command. If I just look at, for example, with grep -i tar command, tar with cvfz, that option, then right away it will show that command. So now that tar is done, the nohop is done. So if I run jobs, it's not there anymore because it just says done. This job number 1 is completed right away. So since the size was not that big, it actually noticed that this file is a tarball. This was a gunzip file. The gunzip file is compressed, so it's smaller to the other one. Now I'm going to do a gunzip on the file, gunzip on this one, and see how much it compresses on this. So 2.2 tar.2011-09-02. I'm going to gunzip that one. This time I just did not do any command after it because the gunzip command, it should just compress it and give me a better size than 1.4 there, and it already executed it, and now it's there. Notice the size of those ones are only by maybe 2 characters different, or some characters different at the end, maybe because the name of the file also is saved differently. So that's what it is on that one. Let's see what else we have on this one now. If I want to just move this one to a temporary location, I could unzip it from here back because that is the file that I actually did that one. But because this is my web server, I don't want to just on the fly remove it or something, even though nobody is accessing it and it's not that important in the environment. It is, I'm still under, I'm going to build a system there to just make, in terms of the network and everything else is going to be faster, and then upgrade this system to a different environment. I could just want to update it, I will do it that way. let's see, 2.2.targ.ganzip. So if I just want to restore this one to a new location, I could also make a new location, say make dir and then call it temp1, and then go to the temp1, and then I don't have to just cd to that directory or copy this one to temp1. I could just say tar X for extraction, V for verbose, V and then Z, and then this time 2.2.tar.ganzip. And since I'm there, this one is going to extract that the same file in the temp directory location where I cd to it. And then now I'm going to do another ampersand, so I get my prompt back, and then I get it. You see that it is, because I'm on that directory, it is listing all the files that are extracted. Since I gave the option of -V for verbose. If I didn't want to see that option, I could Control-C out of this and say, well, it listed that one and I don't need that one. Let me just Control-C out of it. Notice that even Control-C out of it, what's already in the queue is gonna just keep doing it. But now that one says done, I could say rm-rf 2.2, this one, and then run it in the background and remove it. So now this one is empty, but this time I'm going to do the same command, and then I don't want to just say -V for verbose. So the output is in silent. What was showing on the screen, I don't want to see it, and then now it is going to run it. The 2.2 is going to be done eventually, and then right now, and there's one jobs, it's running. That command, when it is done, it is going to have the 2.2 similar. Right now, it is done. So watch the 2.2. 2.2 is this, and then the upper directory, the 2.2 is that. And then you could do a diff on 2.2 and then 2.2 like that too, and it says common subdirectories. And then you could do a -R option of diff recursively to get the further details, and that will also show you a similar information. So let's just look at a couple of more things here. The tape archiving, Gunzip, we covered that one. If I'm just doing something here, I just don't need this temp1. I could remove it here. I could just come up here and then say rm-rf temp1, and that would remove the file. df-h I still have 15 gig space, 4 gig is used and 25 gig is available, 15% total. So if I look at the file no-hub.out, that's the output of, file no-hub.out, that's the output of my previous tar-ganzip file. So you can see that this is basically the files that were put into the verbose option of tar CVF. C for create, V for verbose, F for full, and then Z you can put it into a ganzip format. So we discussed tar, ganzip, and unzip. There's also a command to compress. So man compress, you could do like compress it into a ganzip file and then uncompress it. You could see uncompress is the command, or compress -D is going to be uncompress and there. The zcat is similar to the cat command, except it looks for a file that is .ganzip file. So a file that is ganzip, you can zcat on it. You could still see the content of it there. Let me just show you one more thing. And then compress, when you do it, it gives you the extension .z there, and then you could do a file on it to see what it is. So for example, if I just compress this file, no hub, you could say compress no hub.out. It will just compress it. Now it has the option of this. Notice the size was this, and then the compression made it smaller. So now I could just uncompress it. I could say uncompress no hub.out.z, and then that just remove the z and then put the size exactly to what it was before, right here. Or I could say compress and then no hub.out, and then once it compress it, I could say compress minus d for decompressing it without using the command uncompress, and then say the file that I want to work on is no hub.out.z, and that's equivalent to the same thing. Now I'm done with rm and no hub.out. I don't need it. I could just remove it. Let's look at one more thing on this concept. Here, since we did the SSH and its copy, I want to replace this one with a newer version if I have it backed up previously. Let me look at my Windows machine where I have some of my backups. If I have it here, I'll just check on it. I don't know, I did it a number of years ago, but I might still have it under one of these directories here. So videos, wlutfi. I'm going to try to see under wlutfi, Wahid, and wl. No, this is not it. And then clear screen, cd dot. Let's see, cd to Python. Okay, so htdocs, that is cd to backup. Maybe I call it something like backup or something. Let's directory store backup. Users cd to my Solaris. cd to my Solaris. See, there's a Solaris directory, OneDrive, scripts, search, directory, store, backup, find slash, okay, not find, and this one, dir, store, backup. Maybe I call it like my backup or something. When you work on something for years and don't touch it, it's harder to find it, but if I find it, I'll just do it. Otherwise, I'll do it from another location. So /s. And this is a good time, actually. We take a 10-minute break. Then once we come back from break, I'm going to cover some more topics here, dictionary.txt.backup, some other backup that I have update. I'll look at it. So let's look at the lecture, what we are covering tonight. We did a number of these things last time also. And tonight, I wanted to cover cron jobs, and then commands with cron jobs, the @ command, the @ rm, @ q, and batch, cron tab, different parameters that you pass on, and the target zip and other things we already did cover. And then for lab activity, while I would cover some of the lab myself, I want you to do this part here for the lab when we come back. So the lab activity, I'm saying write a script to perform backup of certain directory and use the same script to store the backup you made to a new location and compare your result with the original location. So on that one, you basically using tar, ganzip, compress, or any files, any options that you do no hap and all the things that I just showed you. With those options, you could do that, and then as well as do a def between the two directory, do a def recursively and other ones. If you want, I could just add on these commands that you should be looking at the time that you're doing the scripting. I'll just update this one with those commands parameters just for you to play around, and then you could practice on those ones at the lab time as well as. And then later on tonight, I will post the final exam information. Before we go to a break, does anybody have any question? I'm glad there's 8 people today. That's very good. And then hopefully we will keep up with more people as time progress the next 2 weeks. The class is there, and then ask question on any environment that I covered that you like me to cover more on it, or you like the topic you wanted me to add on more, so you add to your knowledge, or maybe I covered it in a short time and I told you that I'll cover it next time. If I forgot to cover the same subject, new materials for it, I like to cover and answer your specific question, because most of you guys are doing pretty well with this class and keeping up with all the assignment and everything. I'm glad that you're doing that one. Those of you that have not submitted 1 or 2 assignment there, I just wanted to see if I could just maybe drop one assignment as a assignment that you missed, and then that way you don't miss too much of a point. But I give you enough time to just work on it and you know, come up with a solution. And if you're still thinking that before this coming Thursday you're going to submit a final version for that one, to just change your grade from something to something else, whether that something is 0 or 50 or 100 or 75, that's up to you, how you see it. Please do so. That's a good thing that you could just make sure that you get the grade that you want, or the one that you deserve already, that you work for it, and then you should do that. I encourage you, don't ever just go for any class and you just say, assume that, okay, since the instructor is easy, at the end I'll just end up with this certain grades, because I think that's an assumption. Certain instructors, they give you some assignments and they are expecting certain things from you, and if you don't follow it, and then it's not going to help you on the long run at your job or something. So it's not good for us to just encourage you in the wrong way. We have to encourage you to learn and grow with your classes, and as you go to the next class, it benefits you from last class you took. Any question before we take a break? Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. We come back at 8:25, and then we start off with the rest of the class. I'm gonna stop sharing for now, and then I'll look into that directory for my archives, and then if I find it, I'll post it. Otherwise, I'll post it afterward there and update it. But the tar ganzip files are already showed you, and we will resume with cron jobs after the lab. So let me stop sharing. Okay, so I found out the location of where the tar file was on my laptop, which is right here. And then I just did a copy, secure copy. This is the source, and this is the destination where I want to send it. It is a little bit slow in terms of the kilobytes per second. You can see 813 kilobytes per second upload. That's not fast, but it is what it is. Basically, the network is wireless. When you do wireless stuff, it's always the slow performance. So when this is done, eventually I'll just show you how to just restore it onto the new location with that one. Because this is December of last year. That was my last backup that I made. So I could restore it with the latest and greatest. This one, I'm also showing you the bitwise SSH connection. So if I want to just connect to this machine, let me just exit out here and then log out of this. So you can either SSH from command line, because every Unix, Linux, and Mac machine does have a SSH access. And as you can see from this example here, if I go back to the SSH session, the virtual box, I SSH from this CentOS machine to the Mac, and from Mac to Solaris. And then if I just do a uname -8, you can see there. And if I do which SSH is there, basically there's a SSH client, and then there's a SSHD as a process running as daemon. It's SSHD. The SSHD in this case is listening to connection on port 22. And if I do a netstat minus or AN for all the network, and then look for the word listen with -I lowercase, so I could type in any case sensitivity to ignore the case. And even if I type listen in lowercase, it's going to match the one that are uppercase listen, because I said ignore the case. And then if I just script for 22, you could see that that's port for SSH. And how do I know that? When I could do ls or f -I for interface in port 22, LSOF on this Solaris machine is not installed, which means I could install it with package command. So pkg search LSOF, it will find the LSOF package, and then I could do pkg search install LSOF, and there. The performance is not that great because of the network. The network is a bottleneck in this machine. So pkg, if I do install, let's see if it finds the LSOF packages. Even though if it finds it, I have to just configure the device for LSOF. There's a lot of things that you have to do to make it happen. Sometimes you can get the source code, you build it from source code with make build, make install stuff. Not make build, make command. First you run the configure, then you run make, and then make test, and then make install. That will install it on your system. There's also a package util command with the pkg util with Solaris that it is getting from OpenSolaris Foundation.csf there. That's the new repository for Solaris. It's called OpenCSW Community Software .org. This is Open Community Software .org, which is Solaris packages, and it lists all the packages that you could run. And there's a lot of packages that are already built in for you. You could get downloaded those ones. This list of full packages that are here, we could just get that list of it, and then search for one of the command like Lsof, for example, to search for it. They are sorted in alphabetical. You can also do the search on it to see what which one you want to get. Package request form. You could generate a list that. The Lsof, let's see, Lsof, right here. It's right here. So if I look at this one, list of open files for that package, and then you can see that if I do the package through pkgutil command, I have to do a -u for update and get my repository updated. And this is the package add command that it just sets my repository to get.opencsw.org. Then I could do package util -y for yes, and then -i for install. -a would be checking for the existence of this package, and then do this. But if I have already done it, the installation, I will have a opt csw directory on that machine. So let me see if I had done it previously. Like here, it says that this is the actual Lsof package if you want to do it, but I want to do it through pkgutil, which means under opt, there's a csw directory if I had done it, but I have never done it. So that on this machine, if I want to just get that working, I have to do the package first, this one, package add -d in this path. So this path, let me see if, okay, sorry. See if I could cut and paste this path. Since this path is there, copy, I could go back here and then show and list that command. And I could say package add -d for destination or the location of the source. In this case, I'm going to say add this package. So it's downloading the package, and once it's done, that information, then I say, yeah, go ahead, all of them. Now it's gonna try to install the optcsw package. See package util, this is the one that I need to just start with everything. This will install the CSW directory as well as the package util itself. And now I have a optcs directory. The etc directory is for configuration files related to it, and one of the configuration is pkgutil.conf file. So it will just do that, and then inside this directory now I have a CSW. Inside the CSW I have a bin directory. Inside the bin is a pkgutil command. And then now I say file pkgutil. This one is a binary file. File ./pkgutil. From this current, it's an executable shell script, and this one it reads the etc opt etc csw package util.conf file, and I could do this command from this current directory. I say pkgutil -util -uppercase U for update. it will just update itself first before I search for additional packages. So now it is updated. Inside on my bin directory, I have further files. If I install Python and anything that I do, it will come up here. So LSOF is not here. Now I'm going to do a .pkg util dash search, and the search would be A. Then I could say for LSOF. Search for LSOF, and it right away it tells me this is the package for LSOF if I want to download it. Then I could say /pkg util minus yes for option of Y with yes, minus I for install, and then LSOF. I could give the name of the package CSW LSOF, but because it's prefixed with a CSOF, by default it knows that's the package that I'm looking for, LSOF. Now notice that it just actually did the documentation for it and related information for LSOF here. If I just look at the bin directory, now in addition to other ones, LSOF is also available with AMD 64, because this machine architecture, UNIX is Sun Solaris, ISA info is showing that it's AMD 64. So it had to download the AMD 64, and this is the binary for it. File LSOF, that's executable. Now if I say LSOF minus I for interface and port 22, if everything is working, it should give me information on that port 22. If LSOF still have a device issue or something, it will tell me, then I have to further investigate and look into that one. But because it is working, it is just running it, and it says that you need to run LSOF as root. I am running it as root, so access root LSOF, no such file or directory. It did not create this file originally, that it did not exist on this one. Created device cache, it just created that one. Now can read proc file system table. So why it's not readable there? Let's see if it, yeah, can read proc table. That the proc file system table, it is not able to read it for port 22. So if I just look at netstat minus AND minus AN grep colon 22, this one, and then grep SSHD. Let's see, grep lesson and grep 22. That would minimize it to that colon 22 as listening to that. And LSOF is telling me I'm going to put TCP here. It doesn't matter. I still have the proc file system. Let's minus the proc /22. And then you can see that proc file system, somehow it is not readable. No such file or directory on that process ID of SSHD. So if I look at the proc, there's a list of processes. Whether 22 should have been there, but it is not finding it. That's why LSOF is not opening it properly. So I could say SPCS minus A, grep minus ISSH. See if it's, there's a service called on Solaris that's called SSHD, and that service online. Yes, it is. How about SSHD? The SSH client is there. SBCS, I'm gonna say SSHD. It is not there, but SSH is there. And then SBC, ADM, disable SSH. And then SBCS, SSH. It is there. Let's see if PS. minus EFA grep minus ISHD. That process is still running, and the daemon there with user lib. The main process for it is 1. So SVC ADM enable SSHD, and SSHD is not an instant, but SSH is. So I enable that one now. Look for the SSH and their host name SSH minus L and wlutfi MySolaris. Just to SSH to itself, see what happens. Yes, go ahead, SSH to it, and provide the password. I forgot the password on this one. Let me see if I remember it. I believe it is. Okay, I forgot. I didn't forget the password. So that is the password, and I just SSH'd. Who am I? I'm coming from my Solaris machine itself to itself, and ps minus ef grep minus iwlutfi, and there's my SSH access, and let's look for grep minus issh. So the connection are done through stage-agent with Gnome session and user bend SSH minus L. If I just look at the process ID of ls minus L proc and then 3031. This 3031 here is my SSH connection 3031, and then that one is giving me permission denied because I have to be root. So sudo su. I'm going to stay on the same profile, no dash after su. So I'm going to try to log in, and let's see if I could become root first. Now I'm root. I'm going to do the same thing. ls minus L proc process ID 3031, and that 3031 is actually having that. Let's see if there's a Lsof for it. Slash store ls status. Okay, and then if I now do Lsof minus p for the process ID, since 3031 is existed, that I have to go to that directory. So opt csw ben and then lsof and then minus p 3031. Can read the proc table. It's still there, an issue, which means that maybe I have to reboot since I installed the Lsof in order to just be able to read the proc file system table. And just to test that one, I could reboot it, but the machine is having multiple boots, so I have to be in front of the virtual box to do that one. I cannot just choose that last option, which is a different setting. Since I upgraded it, I have to check it out differently. So at this time, let me just see the command line here. If this is complete, is 49% for a while, and it is not moving. Sometimes this session, if you're not clicking on it or it's not active, this number 50% will be just like standing still. So once you click on the taskbar, it's moving. Now you can see it is doing a little bit faster this time. Now it's going to 52, but 49% was already done long time ago, and now it's moving to 53 and going to 54 and so on. So make sure that it is moving, and then I'm going to cover the cron jobs here. So on this machine, file new, you could do a number of cron jobs. For example, on this one, if I have a cron jobs on my Solaris machine, which I might have, because at one point I was starting the Apache as a cron job and some of the VirtualBox as a cron job. Let's see if I do have anything here. Host name, and it's not responding right now because of a network is getting integration mode. So host name here, cron tab -l. This one, there's no cron tab. Normally when you do a cron tab command, cron tab is the command, -l listed, and then the user that you're logged on, you could check on it as that user. If I'm root, let's say I go sudo su dash, and I just become root, and on this machine, and then I run the cron tab command, -l, I will just say root doesn't have any cron tab. But if I want to see for the user wlutfi, I say cron tab -u wlutfi. That will check for the user, and you can see -u and then user information there. It tells me the syntax of how I could list it. So if I just say -l for listing and then -u for user, it will say that this user does not have it. But because I did not put the -l, so it says, yeah, you're giving me the username, but you're not telling me what you want to do with it. So the option with cron tab normally is -u for user, but -l to list it, -e to edit the cron tab, -r to remove it, and then -i to interactively remove it. It prompts you for deletion, and then so on. All these other options are there. So if I just want to do a cron tab, normally where the cron tab is and the var is pool directory. And the var is pool directory, there's a number of crons and LP and mail and MQ for mail, and then add for add jobs, cron for cron jobs, cups for security, LPD for line printer, and so on. All of that one is in the cron job. And then if I do a mail queue, for example, it says you don't have any mail because inside this directory, var spool MQ is empty. And that's why I have no mail. But if I just use the add symbol, the add command normally it says at a particular time, if you want to run a command, you could just run that command at a particular time and execute it and get the output of it. So for example, say at now plus 2 minutes. So I could run this command, pwd ls-ld who uname. So I want to do all of that, and then I say Control D. Now that job is submitted at now plus 2 minutes, and if I just say at Q for show me the job, that's job number 2. Jobs also, if I had submitted in the background, will show it, but at Q or at -l will be the same thing. At Q or at, meaning that show me the list of the jobs. So now if I just leave that job 2 minutes later, because normally by default, whoever ran it, in this case, I'm root, and if mail is configured on this machine, I'll get a mail. A mail that that command ran or something, it will just send me the output of it. So these are the list of the commands that are already sent to me, my mail, but I could just look at the, let's say, for example, header 1, head 1, or list the first one, If I want to read it, it's there. So this is not something that I want. I say delete. H for header. Then I say read the number 2. And then it says, okay, so wlitfy user not this or this. I'm going to say delete that one too. And then H again, header. So 3, what it is, that one, let's read it. That's not something that I want to keep, is delete. H again, header. 4, read it. So I could say delete 4 like that too, header. And then 5. So this is the Gnome Shell. Some of them you can see is since February 2020, so I could delete that one also. Delete and then header that. So H of 6, number 6, and that's April 30th, and then I say delete that one. And now I don't have anything, messages. So that command, if you gave the add command with -m, it will mail it. And if you say uppercase M, don't mail it. At -l will list if the job is not in the queue, it is not executed. Since that job terminated, whether the information was sent to a logs or to the mail, depend on your configuration, how you run the command and how you configure it. I will show you some of the options here with at and cron tabs entries and how you could make it work and how you configure them. So if you go to the etc directory, there's one file called add.allow and add.deny. These two files, if they exist, so add.allow, it will say this user, let's say I say wlitfy could run a command, I need to add it to add.allow. If my add.deny does not have any entry, that means by default everybody is allowed to run the command. So either if you put a user, say add.deny, inside there as wlitfy, then wlitfy cannot use the add command. But if you add add.allowed with wlitfy, every other user that are not found at the add.allow, they're not allowed to run the command, because even though you did not list them on the add.deny, once you created one account on the add.allow, then the rest of the users are by default or considered as if they were denied. So you have to make sure the next user is also allowed on the add. That's why some of these files doesn't exist to begin with, like add.allow is not there, but add.deny is there. If add.deny is empty, that means everybody is allowed to run the command. And then here in the var spool directory, there's an add directory. So if I go to add directory here, there's another one, spool directory. And then here you don't see anything, but there's a dot sequence as of just earlier, maybe 10:08:54, 5 minutes ago. Let's look at that one to see what is inside there. File, so a spool, and then see the file. This is the file, but it's a directory. One of them, and then the other one is a hidden file, .seq and file.seq, as a text file. So .seq, it just says that 2 minutes, the sequence, maybe I say add plus 2 minutes, the sequence were created there, maybe something else. I'm not exactly sure what that number represent in their sequence. Then you also have var log. Let's see if there's anything with add. Let's start, okay. Let's monosell star.cron. So the cron jobs on this directory var log is whatever you have on the cron, the output is also written here on the var log. So more cron, if you look at it, the last time that the cron job was submitted and ran it. It's showing the output here. What machine I am? Okay, so I'm on a CentOS machine. Let me see if this other machine is there. Okay, so cron tab -L, and this one is just going to list if I'm running any cron tab as root. And at the same time, let's see, this one finally finished. So this one finished, I put it on the temp directory of that machine. Let me just Control-C out of it. Actually, you can see I am running some cron jobs here. So the cron jobs, for example, as root, log ADM, that's log administrator for log rotation, and if it's fine and other ones. There's a lot of SAR and other things by default. On Solaris, you can configure it. So the cron jobs, when you configure it, it has 5 kind of field before the actual script or command that you want to run. The first field is indicating the minutes at 10 minutes past the hour. So 3 means 3 a.m. And this is star means any day of the day of the month. And then this is, so this means 0 through 31 or 0 through 29 for February. And then this one is the month 1 through 12. And that's the month in a year. And this is a week of the day. 0 meaning Sunday, 1 meaning Monday, and 0 through 6 for all the days of the week. 0 the Sunday. So this script that is here, it checks for this, and if it's fine, if it is executable, then runs this command on every Sunday at 3:15 a.m. This one runs at 3:30 every day. This means every day of the week, every month of the year, and every day of the month. And this one is basically saying that run it at 12 midnight every night, every day of the year, and every day month of the year, every day of the month, and every this is the hour, every hour, 24 hours, run it every hour you run it. But since it puts it at 0, it means only run it at midnight. And then this one says that run it every day. And then this one says every month. And this one says every day of the week. So cron tab is giving that options. And when you put it a comment here, it will just do this. So if I just say cron tab -L listed for my root cron tab there, and at the same time, since I have it under var spool cron and then cron tabs, there's a cron tab cron tabs. Then I have a root file here, and then the root file, because I am my ID there, I say cron tab -L root. It's the same thing as a cron tab -L. And if I want to see the sys, I say cron tab -L -u sys. So that would give me this. And notice on this one, it says -L, and then you don't say -u like Linux. It just, the syntax is -L and then L and then sys. Automatically will just do the sys. And then this is the SAR, System Activity Report. SA will stand for SAR. You enable it, and then you get the System Activity Report. And you can see that some of them are SA2, like these ones. If you have this file system running as a cron job, you could do SAR -A, for example, to get all the System Activity Report for the entire system. SAR stands for System Activity Report. And you can see that if I do -A for all, you can do -CC for CPU and so on. There's each one of them, you can do certain parameters with it. And then command -SAR will actually tell you the syntax. And then this is the binaries from the cron jobs that you set it up for the SAR, and this is again within your sys cron jobs, and so on, and this one. And then you can see SAR is there, SVC, ADM, IOStat, and PMStat. If VC ADM is there, we covered a lot of these commands already. Good thing that you are going to be an expert soon. This is the service management facility, equivalent to your Windows services command, or Linux services command, or Linux Red Hat system D system CTL command. Those are the same thing. It's called service management facility. It allows you to start and stop services at different run level or different kind of checkpoint, or at one, whether they're on a standalone server running in a single user mode, multi-user mode, multi-user NFS, and all that other options. So we did look at the cron job. We look at the directories on the cron jobs. Here we have a list of them, like cron tab minus L ADM will just show you the ADM user. And this is equivalent to cat ADM here, or ls minus L sys, cron tab minus L sys is equivalent to cat sys. Because I'm on that directory, I could see the content of it. And then if I just want to modify it, I'm not going to modify this one with VI the sys. That's not good to do this one like that. So the right way to do it is, if you are modifying the sys cron tab entity, you do cron tab minus E sys for edit sys. And then command not found, I'm sorry, cron tab minus E sys. I typed it wrong. So you could do this one, but then again, this is something for sys. The right way to do this one is to say switch user to dash sys. Now I'm on a sys user, and then I say cron tab minus E, automatically open up my sys cron tab entry. A number of things that you could do. For example, if you want to just comment this line to not run, you could just do that there. And then you don't have the SAR level 1 system activity report later on. If you just say, what is that one? You could just say file /user /lib /sa1. You will see this is a shell script. And if I look at the content of that one, bang $, sorry, no such file or directory, more $, bang. What did I do on the file? I'm going to just say more user lib sa1. So you can see that the script is actually doing the SAR. It runs a date, get the end directory, and then this is a system activity command, and that it runs. So if I tell /user /lib sa, it's a directory. Under here, there's a lot of other script for whatever run level they are. And if I do file /user /sa/star, you will see that these are shell script. I say for run level 1 for SAR activity report, this is responsible for run level 2. And then let's look at user lib sa1. This is that, and then if I look at the sa2, this is running this command date, and then capture that information. And then the other one is, it also run the report as the SAR with a particular date for that day, capture it with dates. What happened here? Okay, so with add command, you could do similar things. We are on the Solaris machine. We could look at the add symbol, cd to, let me just exit out of this, go back to the root var spool, not this time I'm going to look at the add. So this one does not have an add, there's no entry created. And there, if I just say add now plus 3 minutes, then I say cron tab minus L who, and then svcs minus A. Run those command and control D out of it. Now that job is submitted at made this one, so I could say at minus L, it will show that that job is submitted there. I can shut down that job by this job ID. I could just say add rm and then remove it, or just let it run and then see where the output is written, whether it's written somewhere on that directory or somewhere here, or mail to me, because I am there, mail queue. Eventually, if it mail to me, it will just write it. But this time I'm going to do another one, say at now plus 1 minute, and then this time I'm going to just run one command called df minus h, and then control D, actually, and then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time instead of this I'm going to say minus m for message to mail to me, see if it mails to me on the root file system. And this time I say uname minus a output and pwd, and then id those ones, control D. So now I just submitted. If I say at minus L, there's at least 3 of them. And then you can see the job that they should be running at 22:13, which is one of them just run. No, not yet. It's 13:18. And then 45 date. Okay, now date at dash L. Let's see, at Q, you can see the first one run. The next one is going to run at 22:14 and 2020, 22:14 and 10:14. Why is that date is 22:14 when I'm just running it? Date. Okay, at Q. Yeah, the next one finished, and then so at Q, it's the last one is gonna finish soon because it's only 1 minute left for that one. At Q, yeah, it finished. No file there. So let's see if I get any mail. Only the option that I saved with minus M, it sent me the output for that job. So the uname minus A is showing here, and then the ID is showing there, and then it is there. So now I could say quit, and then still say mail queue. It is nothing there. If I just do mail, it still is gonna list of all the things that were there. Notice that on the list of the command svcs, that my previous command that I did with the at, even though I did not specify the minus m option, it still mailed to me those commands. So that is from one of the command I was doing svc adm, and it just send it that information here. So if I just say go ahead this, and let me see and delete that one. Next output, my Solaris, delete that one, and this is the df-h command, delete that one, and now mail queue, mail, there's no mail. So I want to run one more command, and I'm going to specify a command to see the output of my script. So I could just say right here, I could write a script, say, let's say, go to any directory here at, let's say, home wlottery, and I'm gonna just say cd to sources. Let's see what I have here. This is Python stuff. So I'm going to just create one file, one script here called s1, bis1.sh, and I'm gonna say /bin yeah, user ben env and then bash. Let me make sure that my env is in that path, env, yeah, user ben env. So I'm going to run a command here to just do some for statement. Let's say for I and sequence 1.5. I'm gonna put the debugging option set -x on. Unfortunately, the debugging, when you say -x, it sets it on when +x is, so it's counterintuitive. -x put the debugger on, and the +x removed it. So if I do the count for I this do, and then I say echo working on line number $, and then I just note quickly, and then I just say this, get out, and then do done, and then I'm gonna put the debugger option here off, set +x, and then I say for J, and this time I'm gonna do A through Z. Rather than A through Z, I want to do it with uppercase A dot E, not the first letter. I'm going to do that, and then say do echo the letter, the character, not letter, the character was $J. I should have choose the C instead of J. And the way you do that one is you just go here, done, and you could say set NU, that is those line numbers. So I could say between the line 10 and line 12, where you say J, change it to a C. So I could say set no NU, and then from 10 to 12, I say 10 to 12 substitute and J to C, and then undo that. So now I change that one to character, and instead of the variable this, it makes more sense. So I save this one, and then if I run this script from the script, let me just make a permission first, change the permission, change mode U+X. I could do it without the 7, I could do it this way too. So now I have made it there. I say cut s1.sh. That's my script, clear the screen, cut, clear the screen did not work, clear, yeah, so it's not working with this option, tput rmsu, and then tput, okay, the color is the problem. So when you do the term, you say, since I'm using what shell, I'm using bash, I could say export term is equal VT100. Now I should be able to do a clear because my terminal was different external stuff. It did not do it. Tput clear also does that. The tput clear command is the equivalent of clear, but if my terminal $ is not VT100 and it was some other external color, this thing that was not recognized the clear command. So let's just run the script s1.sh, s1.sh. So clear the screen and ls -l s1.sh, cut -n s1.sh. Now I'm going to run s1.sh, and it's going to set the X option for 1 to 5 is going to say line number 5, and then this other one is going to say, but this one is going to put it in debug mode, so it will actually run the command with the list. As you can see, it says it's working on this command. Every time this plus, you see it, it's because we are putting it in debug mode. It shows the command and then at the output. Shows the command and the output. And this one, since I set that debug into plus X, I don't want to see those debug option, then it's going to do it. So now let's say s1.sh, I'm going to just comment this line out and comment this line out. Just for the sake of clarity on the screen, I do the cut minus n s1.sh. Now this time I run s1.sh, is going to just do exactly what we're looking for. So why did I write this script? I'm going to test this script as a cron job and as a add job to see how they could work on it. If I just want to set up this script as a cron job to run the next minute, I have to first find out the date. So the date is 10:23 right now. I could go ahead and modify the cron job, let's say cron tab -e or edit, and then say go to the bottom of it, and then, sorry, quit out of this, clear the screen, pwd ls -l s1.sh. Since this is the path where I want to run the script from, and I want to send the output also on the same location of my cron job, whatever is the output, I want to send it to an output file, s1.out, and then whatever the error, I want to send it to s1.error. So I could make my cron job at any time I want, but I want to test it now. So this is the time date. So 10:24, if I make it at 10, maybe 27, I could be done with the cron by that. So let's say cron tab -e. I'm going to go to the end of the script, and then right here I say 27, 10, and then star, and then the path where I want to just run the script, and the script name is s1.sh, and then the output of it, I'm going to send it to the same path where I want to send it to as s1.out and 2 $&1, meaning that send the same the errors, if there's any error, onto the same output. If there's no error, I could just say 2 $, let's say path of like this path, and then send it to /s1.error. You could do that, and that will execute there. Now, since I did it, I say cron tab -l, sorry, cron tab -l, cron tab -l, it will show, and then this is my last line that was there. So in order for me to do it, clear the screen, date is there, it's 25, we still have time for 27. So I'm gonna do cron tab minus U minus L for root, and then grep for minus I s1.sh. So I only wanna see the last one that I'm activating it. And basically here I said run it at 1027 every day, every month of the year, and then every day of the week. And this is the script to run. And send the output of this script to s1.out. And then also if there's an error or you found it, send it to s1.error. I could have done 2 greater sign &1 to send it only to s1.output the error as well. But it's more clear this way. Now I'm there. I'm just gonna wait for the 1026 to see if it writes to it at 1027. So I could say while true and do cron tab minus L and grep minus I minus y s1.sh, and then undo that one and let that sleep 1 second, and then do a ls minus L on this directory with s1.star, and then done. So every time I just look at it, if the cron is running, it will report to me when the actually s1.out is getting created and when is, so far is only s1.sh, because s1.out, the cron has not run yet. I mean, normally you don't write monitors like this, you do some condition. When it found that one, just send me an email, and then when it's done, exit out of it. Notice that now the error file got created, because that error file, if it does come out with an error, there might be no output file there, only this. So let me just Control C out of this and type in date. It's already 28, meaning that it's one run, but whether it finished or not, there's s1.error on this directory. So let's see what happened with it. s1.sh is there, cron tab minus L, 1027. Date is 10:27 p.m. That's Pacific time. I believe this is off for me. I'm looking at, this is a PM, so instead of 10:27, this is 10 a.m. I need to change this one to 22, which is 10 plus 12 is 22. So let me go back here, and then date is there now, 29. I could do cron tab minus E, and then 27, I'm going to make it 31. So 27, I'm going to just make this one 31 and make this one 22. That's PM. It's military time, so that's what that was the issue, that the cron did not run. It's going to run in the morning if I was waiting for 10:27 a.m. Now I made it to PM. That's gonna just run it as soon as it's 31. Let's see if that's 10:31:05. So we need to wait another 50 seconds. And while we're waiting on that one, we could do one @ command to run this script also. Say @ now plus 2 minutes, 2 minute, and then I'm gonna say run the s1.out, s1.sh, and then send the output to s1.out.at. So we know that that output is there, and then Control D. So now at Q will show me that job is there, which is going to run at 10:32. Date is 10:31 already. So we should have a job for the cron job s1 dot something dot out and s1 dot error if it was there. Since error is 0, there was no error. That's a good thing. But s1 dot out was created because at 10:32 p.m., 31 p.m., it executed the cron job, and s1 dot out was written there. And that's the output of it there, that it's all successful from there. So and by doing this cron tab minus L and adding, let me clear that one, cron tab minus L grep minus I is s1.sh. By adding this one, this is basically every day at 10:31 it is running. So if I just say don't run it every day, cron tab minus E, I could modify the line to say run it on a particular day or something, but I could just also say this one, I just comment it out and don't run it next time on another day. Cron tab minus L, sorry, cron tab minus, now it is no longer going to run this one because it's commented out. Let's see the add job that we did. So at Q, it will show it still is waiting. Date, it just changed to 32:39 and should have run by now at, did I say 22:32 at now plus 2 minutes. Oh, at the time that I submitted must, yeah, it should have at Q. Let's see what, yeah, it just finished at that time. So if I just look at the something.at here, if the output was written, yes, it did execute it. So and this was my at command, which I wrote the output at, and that's the for statement that was executing properly there. So you see output of a cron job as well as a job. We just created from 2 ways running it there. But the at command, you don't have to say at now plus 2 minutes or at now plus 1 day or what at now plus tomorrow or at tomorrow do this one at Friday. You could put a lot of different things at noon, at tea time. Tea time by default is 4 p.m. At noon, at midnight, at morning, at evening. Those kind of things, variables are already defined there. And then when you do at midnight, for example, it runs at 12 midnight. And then at noon is 12 noon. And then at now plus something plus 1 day or plus 5 days or at a particular year, or if you say at now plus 10 years, then it's going to run the execute in 10 years. At now plus 20 years, if the system is still up and running, at that time it will be running at that time. So, but you are putting commands that make sense, that you're not going to run a machine and then wait for the result 20 years from now. But you could just say, well, just execute this thing saying that this is what I predicted, and then at 10 years from now, let's just validate that predict by running my script to see if that validation, there's a lot of fun for it if you want to just play around on the system that way. I think I covered enough for this session, and it's good for you to do the lab activity. And let me see if, oh, actually, on this one, I want to show you one more thing. On the var Apache 2, and then there was a 2.2 directory here that I had it already, and then I just put everything on temp star.tar. This one, I just put the directory from my machine using scopy, secure copy, source, and then destination. Now, since I put it on this directory here, I'm gonna just move that one from temp 2.2.tar to here. That is just bringing that tarball to this location. That way I could just use it for whatever purpose I want to do it. So I could stop Apache first, because after this is moved here, I'm going to, this is a huge directory. How much is it? 1, and that's 3. It's a 1 point some gig, I believe it is. So I could do Control Z in here, and then Control Z. It actually doesn't allow me. Yeah, it's a stop, and then BG for background it. So that now, if I say jobs, that command is running on the background. I still have my session, so I could do a disk usage minus stop. This one, when I do that disk usage on the system, it's gonna just tell me how much is this one, how much is that. This one is 52 gig at this time. I'm sorry, the one tarball 75 meg, but it's still growing because it was much larger. As you can see, it's still growing. So if I say disk usage minus sh star.tar, only show me that one 99 meg. Let's see how big is that one, 104 meg. But the system is a little bit too slow for just doing it in meg like that. 127. Let's see how much of it is already done. It's not that much. On the temp store.tar, how many digit? 40113. One more digit, I think it is a lot bigger. So yeah, this is gonna take a while. While this one is going on here, I'm going to just update here something for you. Let me say edit. Okay, so and right here I'm gonna add on to say, for the lab activity, please use any of the following commands to perform the above tasks. Okay, so this is the command that you're using, tar, the tar cvf, and then you could say tar dash cvf z, and then this one you're going to give a name of the tar file, a new tarball.tar file, and then source of the source directories, and this is source directories of wherever files and directories that you want to do. If it's multiple location, you separate it by spaces. Tar zf, and then you say new tarball ball.tar.gunzip, and then source of directories. And then again, the source of directories, if it's multiple location, you just say directory 1, directory 2, separated by spaces. That will do it. And then if you did it with this way, the tar, then you have to say gunzip, this new tarball.tar, and that will just create your file, and the result the result will be new tarball.tar.ganzip in compressed format. For that one, this one, and in one command, you just see have the result will be new tarball.tar.ganzip and gan and zip compressed format. So this is also in gan zip compressed format and gan zip compressed format. So this is your tar commands. This is the actual command that you're running, and then here you're running more than one command to do accomplish the same thing, because on the second one you're putting -z option and you're giving the file name. It is automatically doing two commands in one. It's like hitting two birds in one stone. You don't want to hurt the poor birds. Let them live. That would be better. The result will be this in ganzip compressed format, and then the second one, the final result. So you did that one, and then you need to extract them, extract the tar and ganzip files. So you basically you go to the destination directory and use the above commands, and instead of the -c and the -c for creation, you use the -x for extraction. Okay. One note that whatever you do with tar, you could also do that syntax for jar. Tar stands for tape archive, and jar stands for Java archive. So if you have a class of files and you want to put it into a jar box because you have your pictures, images, a lot of the function of classes that you wrote in your Java programs, you want to put it into one jar file, Java archives, then you could let that be your application. When people are executing it, you just make a jar ball out of the all the classes that you wrote, and then you use the jar command for it. On the Java standard command libraries, there's Java applet for creating applets. You could do jar command for creating jar, Java C for compiling Java code, and then there's other commands similar to Java to run it, for example, in a virtual machine environment, and then the argument that you pass, and you -c for classes and minus certain things for jars that you want to include. All those other ones are in the parameter that you pass on. Let's see, for the extraction, you need to do this one. And then in addition, for comparison, you can compare the source and the new destination that you just stored using the UNIX or a Linux def command, diff, and then the def -r for a recursive option to check for subdirectory or subdirs, and then def source destination or def dir1 dir2 def and def file1 file2. Those are the commands to check it. And then def minus r dir1 dir2 is for recursive. Let's see, for recursive and differences. So if the directories are common, you could say dir, but inside that directory, maybe file 1 is different file than file 2. You could do that one as well. And let me just make the size of this 18. And then you could also use the compress command. Also, I did compress demo with compress uncompress, compress, and compress minus D options. So you could also practice with that as well. And then what else we need to do here? Let's see, 18, and then uncompress. Uncompress is not a typo, so it's compress and uncompress is the command. Compress minus the option, we did have that one. I think this is plenty to play around with it, and you have another 20 or 30 minutes to play with it, or 20 minutes at least to play with it. If you have already started, that's great. If you haven't, go ahead and start with it with that. And then I already put this information here. And for while you're working on that one, I'll untar the other one when it's done. And at the same time, I will just update this one for tonight and to give you the actual assignment for the midterm. There will be a due date, and make sure that the due date is met. That would be great. Let me go back here. Yeah, so this one is done. And now if I just do the disk usage, 907 meg, and no, it actually is still going on. 9. Yeah, it's still going on. It still needs to do something. It was 1.4 or something. So the move is still not done yet. It's growing, almost there. Let's see how much is on the move temp. Store the tar. 113. Yeah, it's almost done. 113 is right there. I think the move will be done now. It will just say done. My move command, has it done? It's still going there. Let me see. Still there. Yeah, move is done now. You can see, and then there's no more move command with that thing, and then the size of this one is there's nothing on the temp anymore because I moved it to here. So this one is store.tar now is here, and that one is the right size. So now I am going to extract that one here, but before I do that one, I could override this one. I want to just move this one to an old one and then extract it as it is, root bin. Let's just make a directory out of this one, move this one to 2.2.old, and then I'm going to do Apache first. I should have stopped it, but I'm going to stop it anyway. And where's my Apache? It's on user Apache 2 bin, and let's see, ps -ef grep -i httpd So Apache is running, and then I'm gonna go user Apache 2, user Apache 2, 2.2, and then /bin. Then I'm gonna say Apache CTL stop. So Apache is no longer running. I just stopped it. Line 113, document root must be a directory. Yeah, because that directory, I just removed it. That makes sense. So I'm gonna go back to the directory that I was. By cd dash, it's gonna take me to the previous directory that I was there, var Apache 2. And then here, I need to tar xvf and then do this one, 2.2 star.tar. If I don't do -f option, it's gonna take long time, and I just have to keep searching for it. But I'm gonna just display it on the screen, so I could just know that it is in the progress when I look at it. Tar this xvf star.tar. Since that's the only tar file, and I want to do it in this directory, it is just extracting it. And if it is too big for it, that I don't want to wait for it, I could just do a ampersand, run it on the background, and then check it there. But I can tell that it's working on the Mac OS X manual pages, Darwin, and then it's going to go to Solaris, Ubuntu. It's going to be a huge directory. So this is tar -xvf for extraction, and it is doing the extraction. I don't want this to just be showing on the screen forever, so I do, did I do Control Z rather than Control S? I'm gonna just run it on the background. This as a background, and now I could go on another session and let this one running. This session here, I'm logged on, and that's my Linux machine here. What else? Okay, so I believe it's 9:53. I let you work on the last part here, and I'll work on the final exam, thinking about what I could assign you for the final exam, and write the documentation for it, everything. It will be available. If you have any question, you're welcome to ask me. Otherwise, you're good to work on the lab activity.